why are we not fracking, and why is it so controversial? Just remind us.
Sure. So the question is, why would we want to do that? And obviously at a time when we are paying through the nose for foreign gas, a lot of people are asking, well, hang on, didn't we have some gas here on UK soil? So it's important to drill down, if you'll forgive that phrase, into why people considered fracking and why we are where we are. Where we are, by the way, is we have a moratorium on it. Now, in about 2015, 2016, Quadrilla, a private company, tried to explore the fracking reserves in Lancashire. What they found, and what the community found, was that exploratory work caused tremors, earthquakes. And because of those earthquakes, because of that damage, the UK government has put a moratorium on fracking in 2019. So that's why we don't have any right now. But it's important to interrogate Wayne's point. Is it the case that if we unlocked all of this gas under the soil, that we would have energy for 50 years? There are no reports which indicate that. The best case scenario is that we might possibly have enough gas there to service our needs, 1% of those needs for 2 or 3 years, getting up to 5% of our gas needs by the end of this decade. And one other thing to say is, one, that's not really a lot of our gas, and two, never forget that gas is drilled for by a private company who will sell it on the open market. And the reason our bills are so high right now is because gas is so expensive. We won't get a discount. It's just more expensive gas.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think people forget, although we're kind of desperate to have more energy security at the moment, there has been linked to things like cancer in the UK, or likelihood of developing things like leukemia. And there's carcinogenic chemicals that are released, for example, which is why it is controversial. But, you know, some people are very much pro it. But on that point of, you know, it's not going to make that big of a difference if we did it now anyway, what will make a big difference? What do we need to be doing to have better energy security in this country?
So what's coming down the line is 2 new nuclear projects, which means we're going to have 4 new nuclear reactors in this country. And that is only going to be coming online over the next decade. Now, that is going to cater to nearly all of our needs once you've taken into consideration the domestic renewable energy, which we control entirely. The great problem with policy over the last few decades is we've not built more nuclear reactors. That's what we needed. That is our dependable source of energy, and it's come too late.
Yeah. How long will it take? That's the problem, isn't it? That it's not something you can just open tomorrow and start generating electricity from. It takes several years to actually get off the ground and be useful. Is there something we can be doing in the meantime, something that can guarantee our energy security a bit earlier than what it would if we go for nuclear?
Yeah, well, that's precisely the point, Mercy. So first of all, on nuclear, Hinkley Point C is expected to come good for us in 2027. Until then, and by the way, fracking, if ever you're going to persuade communities they should be happy with earthquakes beneath their feet, if fracking came online for us, that's going to take a long time as well to be significant. So the question is, how do we get more energy that isn't the cheap renewable stuff, which is kind of keeping our bills down? And the answer is, it probably has to be gas. You have gas produced in the US, you have gas produced in places like Qatar. The problem is we are not geared up to import it. It's imported in the form of liquefied natural gas, LNG. But to get that into your shores, you need to have special terminals built. And in Europe in particular, we've been useless at doing that. But that might still be our quickest, cheapest way to service our gas needs.
And how long do you think... we keep hearing sort of this excuse, and of course there is lots of truth to it, that, you know, the energy situation we face at the moment is because of the war in Ukraine. How true is that exactly? How long can that excuse be used for?
There's no doubt at all that the conflict in Ukraine has pushed gas prices higher, but they were high already. We already had a problem with our over-reliance on and overuse of gas. Don't forget, everyone, we aren't buying Russian gas. We never really did. We get most of our gas from Norway, but the Norwegian gas is traded on the open market, which is why if Germany is struggling with higher prices from their suppliers, we're going to struggle as well from Norway. that again applies to fracking. Never lose sight of that point. And that's really what explains why we are where we are. And I'm afraid that the conflict in Ukraine is showing no signs of abating, and it leaves us with this same problem, which is how do we wean ourselves off hugely expensive gas